pays the bills.
Yes, but
Oops,
doesn't
we
mean I
have
like to do it all the
to.
time. Doesn't mean I like doing it all the time.
All right,
All
so
right,
I'm live at the moment. So hi guys, here we are. It's Yankee T News,
and we're about to go live on Facebook. Hello, everybody.
and here with Jason, and we're going to do it again, baby.
We're
Do it
gonna do
again.
it again, baby.
So,
Three,
uh,
2, 1. It's like Houston.
take
Hello,
over.
everybody. Welcome to. Oh, I have the camera reversed. Welcome to Common Sense News Entertainment, along with Court Ratnowski here, Yankee T News. It is Thursday night, the 19th of March, and we're about to do some heavy duty discussions about
All
a
right.
bunch of things. And we'll start us off. Tell us what it's all about.
Well, let me clear the deck here. I'm going to get this stuff about defections out of the way. I see a rather curious pattern, and it's a pattern that probably connects to some other patterns. So maybe I sound like a typical conspiracy theorist, but I would just be citing information that's out there and that we have already discussed. Okay, we're going to start with Iranian. There are Iranian defections and communist Chinese defections to talk about, but we're going to start with the Iranian defections.
Okay.
All right. A gentleman named Steve Cocken, a famous historian, made the observation that you can't. How do I want to address this? What's the point of defecting if you have no place to defect to? It does not make sense for people to defect away from something. They have to defect towards something.
Except to say that if you're living under an oppressive mullah like in Iran, then any place is better than home. So I'd be like jumping the fence and just figure that out later, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's not how it works when you're living in the middle of a big country like Iran.
Well,
right, and you have to deal with the issue. You need protection. Okay, if you're going to defect, you don't want to have to be arrested. I mean, I'm just going to mention that unfortunate young man, a 19-year-old athlete who was hung in Iran. Did you hear about that?
I've heard many stories like that.
Yeah. So it just shows. I mean, the regime is still intact, but it's going to take a lot to get rid of them. In any event, so we're not going to really see the kinds of changes in Iran that we need to see until we see, quote, defections. And right now I get the sense that they're kind of spotty and scattershot here and there. And it's just going to take a lot more to do that. Now, defections in communist China, a much more interesting story, I must say.
Okay.
So it's not something, unless the person who's defecting is a, quote, valuable asset, we're not going to hear much about it. But this is what I'm going to start with. Stories of officials, bureaucratic officials, who have been, shall we say, quietly leaving the country, never to return, because they see the writing on the wall and they don't want to be there. Okay? So this simple statement that was in the news starts to put a lot of stuff into sharp relief. Okay? First and foremost is the fact that we talked about what? JP Morgan and how they work with the communist Chinese, right? JP Morgan has been the communist Chinese doorway to the West when it comes to finance, doing favors for their family, etc.
Right.
Okay, well, guess what? Of course, it's also the doorway for transferring money out of China into another country where it's safe, out of the reach of the communist Chinese. So you have hypocritical communist officials guarding their own interests by calling upon the services of a JP Morgan to get their personal assets out of the country into a safe place.
Right, because we all know that communists can only survive with the help of capitalism.
Well, okay, yes, there's that general statement. But in the meantime, you've got these individuals stuck with a personal reality. I've got to do something because I can't stay here anymore. And we have to put so I'm going to call these quiet defections, all right? And who knew that we would be thinking of JP Morgan as an example, as an enabler of defections? You know, when they walked in that door, that was a Xinonhan house in Beijing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for murdering the name. It was the Americans ingratiating themselves to the Chinese. And as I'd said, we built up those relationships of J.P. Morgan did over time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's the communist Chinese needing to ingratiate themselves to J.P. Morgan to get what they want. So it's where does this go? How bad does it get? How many more people are going to be sneaking out of the country like this in communist China? It's a little unclear, but let's just put a thing on this, okay? And that has been the purges. All right, so you know that Xi goes through these periodic purges. This last one, where he purged a number of military officials, was especially bad. Didn't follow protocol, broke the rules, pissed off a lot of other people in the military, and has been insistent on doing this. Okay, and there's so he's down to one guy, Shungmin or so. Again, I can't remember these names. I apologize, but this one person is his one main military guy that he's trusting. He had 5 or 6. In one way or another, they're all gone. Now he's down to one. So here's another pattern that becomes rather interesting. Who has he been parading around lately? Not something Xi has normally done. His wife. And he had his wife dressed up as a major general of the PLA. All right.
Okay.
That is what you call a family member. Someone who he feels he can trust. Now, hold that thought. Now we're going to hop over to Russia, because I described to you how there's information suggesting that Putin has been putting key people in key positions who are part of his extended family. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Meantime, over in North Korea, what happens? That guy,
Kim Jong-il.
Yeah, Il or whatever.
Kim Jong-il.
He parades his daughter as the heir apparent. Okay. His daughter, and she is making hints with his wife. Putin is using his extended family. All right. So all right, now let's run back to Iran again. For them, it's a constant process of degradation of their leadership, their personnel. They're still, hold on, they still got a lot of people. And sorry, they still got a lot of resources too. Okay.
We'll take care of that. It just takes a little time. We're not there yet.
Okay. And I guess in some ways, it's no surprise that it would have been. So when Khamenei died, it was no surprise that his son was elected. But in his case, boom, too bad. That didn't work out too well. Okay. So there's a pattern here, and the pattern is one of distrust. Okay. When you are becoming distrustful of those that you're relying upon, who are the closest to you, you got a problem. Okay. You got a serious problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine?
Time to head for the mountains.
Well, and they've probably been doing that, as I've been saying, they've probably been doing that too. Okay. So now let's go back to talking about defections again in this context. And we find that the reports are still scattered, like I said. But when you see that degree of distrust growing, I'm thinking we're going to be hearing a lot more about defections in the coming weeks. Good. Not now, not tomorrow, maybe kind of next week. But the real problem is still, I mean, having to take some bold moves to set up, at least in Iran's case, the kind of opposition that's going to be.
The defections will happen, but will we hear about them is the question, really.
Some. I think we'll hear about some. The big thing will be if we get to see some mass defections. So for the people of Iran, you know, where their hopes are pinned, is these absolutely horrible people who make up the IRGC security forces. These are brutal, brutal motherfuckers. Oh my God. Okay.
They are.
So I don't know if you remember the stories about how they're going into hospitals and shooting people dead.
I'm here. Yeah, they're brutal
Okay.
people.
So the basis for that was
The evil, pure evil. Let's use the word evil. Can we put that out there?
Evil.
Yeah.
It's crazy evil. And they just so all right. I'm going to add to that I think the moving force for that was another gentleman who has passed on, Mr. Laranjani. Laranjani, do you remember him?
No, I do not remember.
Okay, well, he was the guy who was walking in the streets with other citizens, Iranians around him, basically thumbing his nose at the Americans, and oops, that didn't work out. Right. So it's going to take more of that, because you continue to have these brutal thugs out in the streets ready to kill anybody who they think is getting out of line. I wish I had a better answer for it, but it's going to be all right. Let me try this. We also have been told that Mossad is systematically going basically door to door and killing the leadership as they can find them. And as in one case, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the guy, but he was a highly placed figure. So, darn it, we missed him in the government building. Okay, so now he heads to his house, and they went to go get him there. Oops.
Well, just the fact that we got them down to the point where we're chasing them down into their door to door, I mean, is it's good. That's good stuff.
Yes. Well, I'll throw another one. Or there's just a little bit more. So now, he escaped from his house. He went and found a safe house where he has a safe house, and they found him there, and nope, got away again. Damn, slick motherfucker. And then he decided with his followers to camp out in the woods. That's how they're going to make sure they're safe. Unfortunately, that did not work out. So there you go. Okay, so that's the nature of what Mossad is doing, and I would hope the CIA is chipping in on that project as well. You know, it's so. I mean, if there's a story to be told, we just get these little glimpses here and there. That's okay. That's okay.
What happens when you have warfare. It's not something you're gonna. It's not like you're watching a ball game and you get the entire stadium and the play-by-play here. It's a lot of. We're not going to hear about a lot of this stuff. Some of these things in these wars, am I wrong? You won't hear about for 20, 30 years down the road sometimes.
Yeah, the more sensitive and the more amazing it is, yes, the longer it'll take. I think. Okay. Although, you know, with the advent of the internet, there's this, what I'll call this great sucking force. It's trying to suck up information and
that's true.
Get it out there. And we
one soldier, I can put something out there if necessary, possibly.
Yeah. Sure. Right, but for at least from my point of view, when I'm trying to gather all this stuff, it's like, how does it fit together? What's this? D. Ricky Smith. Look who owns this tower in Los Angeles. Oh, really? Now, why would you be bringing up that tower, DJ Ricky Smith? So he's talking about a tower in Los Angeles, but yes, I can assure you, I remember well the name Larry Silverstein. We might want to ask about his insurance policies too, going back to 9/11. That's another discussion. Anyway, okay, so here's how crazy the Mullahs are getting. You want to know what they're accusing the Israelis of?
What are they accusing the Israelis of? We want to know.
Jewish black magic.
Jewish black magic.
Okay. So in other words, I mean, if you dip into the whole thing with mysticism and spirituality and all that good stuff, you're going to find that there's a lot of stuff. So if you're talking about Judaism, for example, it's the Kabbalah or the Kabbalah, okay, which is a system of Jewish mysticism. Mm-hmm. And then there's supposedly other rituals practiced by conservative Jews and other things. Who knows? So they're accusing of doing all that.
Sure.
Using talismans. And then there's I think the Iranians have a culture of demons called jinn, Jinn. And so they're just saying they're doing all that. That's why this is all happening. And it's kind of like, guys,
who's that going to fool?
I want to make sure I got this straight here. All right. You guys are Muslims, right? So that means you believe in Allah, the Almighty, all-knowing Allah. And you're telling me that your Allah can't keep up with Jewish mysticism. I don't
Yeah.
know. Something wrong with that picture.
I'm sorry, I'm not an Allah guy.
Yeah, so it just shows these. Yeah, they're not doing well. So let me just throw in another one. I'm going to start moving on here. The big request for $200 billion of supplemental spending for the Department of Defense has certainly taken a number of people by surprise. A couple have very quietly said it without saying it. Who said that all $200 billion was tagged for Iran?
Just for defense or Department of War, actually, it is now.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of money. I would think, as my mother wisely observed, when they're making a lot of weapons, they're planning on using them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so,
hello, Cuba.
Well, there's Cuba. That will be a small price tag.
Yeah.
But $200 billion to rebuild your munitions, to pursue new strategy. I mean, this whole thing with drone warfare is going to take us in a whole new direction, et cetera, et cetera.
That's
right.
True. Those things are dangerous for civilians. You know what I mean? In more situations for civilians, drones are a nightmare.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. And it's an evolving technology. You have no idea what's coming next. It's going to be amazing. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is $200 billion. That's about the amount of money that I think I would need for my initial plans for dealing with China, communist China. Okay. So I'm not sure what that looks like. And I'm confident in saying that we have some boys in the Pentagon who are doing some wargaming with respect to China. They do that a lot anyway. But the rules and assumptions for this next set of war games might just be a little bit different following what was learned in Iran. Okay. And so there just might be a connection between those $200 billion and the new types of wargaming simulations being done with respect to China. Right. Now, of course, I will refer to a famous saying from Sun Tzu, which is, the superior army is the one that achieves victory without ever firing a shot.
From The Art of War, right?
Yes. So I think, believe me, a lot of thought is going into that principle and seeing how it would be applied with respect to good old China. Okay. So, the closing remark now is the sense of slowly growing. It's kind of like what's that joke about bankruptcy? I lost money slowly until I lost it quickly. Okay, so we're going to see defections continue to grow slowly until they grow quickly.
I agree.
All right, so that may be the pattern that we're looking at in the future. Okay, so I've got that pretty much off my chest now. And by the way, the big picture, is that your creation? The big picture?
Yeah, that's my creation. Yeah.
Oh, you don't know that it has a history to it.
Well, the big picture, I don't see it as something I could copyright. To me, it sounds like you look at the big picture. That's a phrase that probably goes back a long time.
You might be right.
Why? Had you look into this?
Well, I like war porn just as much as the next guy. And so I was watching this review of World War II, and what they were doing is replaying one of these like weekly newsreels that was put out by the Army. And the name for these weekly newsreels for the public about the war was called
Big Picture.
Yes,
no
that's
kidding.
right.
Maybe that's where it comes from.
It could. I mean, well, let's say
or some philosopher at one point coined said, you have to look at the big picture.
Yes.
And what about the term picture altogether? That word picture.
Yes.
That must have come along with the invention of the camera, because before photography there was no picture. We got portrait. They call it a portrait.
Right. Yes. The etymology. We have to hear. I'm just going to make a quick note about the etymology of the word picture. Have you heard of the Oxford English Dictionary?
Now that I've heard of.
Okay. All right.
I do live on Earth, my man.
Have you ever read any passages from the Oxford English Dictionary?
No, but my fifth grade math teacher, Mr. Lessick, used to make us copy out of the dictionaries when we misbehaved. Out of an Oxford, absolutely a dictionary that was about.
That's a little messed up.
Yeah, he was a messed up guy.
Punishing you by having you learn more? Nah, that doesn't work for me. No,
He used to go up to us and say, "You got 10." You got in trouble, and everybody in the school was scared to death of the guy. He's an old Jewish guy too. He goes, "You got 10," he'd say, and then that would mean you'd have to copy 10 pages out of this dictionary, and the pages were about 18 inches high, and the letters were about 3 millimeters high, and you'd be copying for about 19 hours if you tried it. No, it'd probably take you a whole weekend to hand copy, and he meant every slash and colon, and of course he never made you do the whole 10 pages. Well, he let you off the hook after about a half an hour.
The only question, I guess the only good thing in my mind would be is if you learn some incidental knowledge from it.
Yes. Right. How not to mess with Mr. Lessick.
Yeah, right. So
to your point,
anyway, just quickly with the OED, Oxford English Dictionary, if you look up a word, it gives you the history of the usage of that word. Right. So you could actually find, and you'll find that there are different senses and meanings in how the word was used if you go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I'd like to know what the origin of the word picture is. It's a very simple word.
We'll see.
Let's check it out. Let's throw it in there. Let's guinea pig the word picture.
Mm-hmm.
I think it came along in the 1840s. It's going to mid-19th century is going to be my.
Okay. All right. So in the meantime, well, we got two possibilities here. Focus on all right. Anyway, I got to get this off my chest. This is getting me nuts, and it's going to bring us back to the other stuff we've been talking about.
That's okay. We can do that. I'm an open book tonight.
Okay. The news is, after testimony from 6,000 people against this proposed bill involving homeschooling
in Connecticut,
the committee has passed it out.
That's correct.
When you have that much opposition to a bill, it should die in the committee and not be passed out. But no, this shows, whatever arrogance I thought these Democrats had, multiply it by 10.
Yeah.
It's appalling.
Is it not a blatant, absolute disregard for their oath to office to honor the people? They're
not representing the people.
They're not representing the people at all. Matter of fact, they've become rogue, like we talked about before. They're rogue and they're implementing an agenda that's anti-American.
All right. And so, of course, what this means is that they're very confident they're going to get reelected anyway.
Because they think they got their elections rigged, which leads us to another subject we can get to if you want to.
Let's go.
Okay. Dr. Linda D'Alessio, woman that I met for the first time at the CTRA annual thing in February.
Right.
Was a really nice woman, and she's a good fighter. And she testified yesterday, I believe, yesterday, at the General Assembly regarding numerous FR requests to obtain voter rolls, which we know are, we played it on our podcast with Selena earlier today, her testimony. And one of the most appalling things was the fact that we've heard before that some places there are 60,000 more votes counted than there are actually people registered in the town or the county.
Right.
Incredible.
Yep.
Okay. That's blatant disregard. Now, the things she said during this General Assembly meeting were telling. And there were things like that are just appalling. And of course, this is a 90-10 issue, not even an 80-20 issue, by the way. It's a 90-10 issue. Voters, all voters in both parties who want to see fair elections. So talk about ignoring the will of the people. So this testimony was played, and the Department of Justice, by the way, the federal government has caught wind of some of this. The Department of Justice has sued, and they're being heard today at Bridgeport District Court, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Federal. So let me be clear. This hearing or trial hearing, I guess, today was at the behest of the Department of Justice.
That's correct. So in other words, the state of Connecticut, rogue and corrupt, is being finally, the door of the state of Connecticut is finally being knocked on by the federal government down in Washington. And they're saying, what's going on? We need the voter rolls. they now many of us here in Connecticut have been trying to get voter rolls and been denied, but now the federal government has asked for them by subpoena, and they've been ignored or denied as well. So Connecticut thinks it's an independent nation apparently right now.
All right.
So
None of
now
this.
the federal government has to sue over that,
Okay.
and it's sued. And so that hearing was held today in Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And I found out recently, this is new breaking news here on Common Sense News and Entertainment and on Yankee T News, that the Bridgeport federal district judge, federal now, said that basically they don't have to really release these discoverable material about voter rolls. They don't have to release them because it's a civil rights issue.
That was his.
That was his. Now I don't know if they do a written dissertation or what's going on. The judge said
he is supposed to issue a ruling
in writing, correct?
Has some form of judicial scholarship attached to it where he justifies his conclusion. But no, here we go again. So one reaction to this is the funny thing, Judge, is that these voter rolls have been passed over with any problem from registrars the Secretary of State in red states, but not in blue states.
Mm-hmm. You know, and
so it's being treated as a partisan issue. It has nothing to do with civil rights.
Not a partisan issue. You're right. The testimony that so let me just repeat this so people listening can understand completely. The testimony that Dr. D'Alessio gave before the Connecticut General Assembly yesterday, outlining blatant voter fraud statistics that are absolutely unarguable. In other words, 60,000 more votes counted in a district than are actually people are even rolled to vote. So that's blatant and monstrous voter fraud. That evidence was presented to the federal district judge in Bridgeport, who anybody with a brain in their head would say we need to do something about this, decided to blatantly sweep it under the rug and under the guise of a civil rights issue, which I don't understand.
Okay.
Do you have any basis for this ruling of civil rights issue? Try to play devil's advocate for a minute here.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me just pick up a couple comments here from Mr. Smith here. I'm not sure which bill he's referring to, but you're right. It's a bad bill. And that would be, let's see, which is the bad bill that bothers me. The one concerning DCF. Yes. The homeschooling one. That's the one you're referring to. And buying vaccines that no one wants. It's called forcing people to take vaccines that they don't want. It's a violation of informed consent. So
let's talk about that. We should explain that to people who don't get what's going on with that. And I'll go over it real quick. The bottom line is the state made some budgetary criminal. Here's what's happened. The state of Connecticut has made some racketeering, nasty, terrible budgetary moves that has resulted in them raiding the teachers' pension fund, and there's hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. And so they're trying to make up that money clandestinely and illegally. And so what are they doing? They have a stash of unused vaccine doses that they want to force on the Connecticut people of Connecticut, our people in Connecticut, to use to essentially make money. It's a racketeering effort, and they did that by, and so of course this is through the schools and the education system, which is badly corrupted, and of course many parents have been upset about it, and they don't want it, so they've been pulling their kids out of schools. And the homeschooling statistics in terms of the number of parents that are homeschooling their children in Connecticut has exploded, by the way, over the last couple of years as a result of this. And the state of Connecticut is now, as a result, trying to, again, treat the people like slaves, essentially. And they're now attempting to pass this bill, which, here's the punchline. If you dare to try to homeschool your kid, they will report you to the Department of Children and Families. As if you're committing some kind of a abusive act by simply bringing your own children home to be schooled by you. So you have DCF knocking on your door, and that's the bill that I believe they just passed. Like the committee passed.
It's been passed out of committee. It's going to be
6,000 people showing up to protest.
Sorry.
Despite 6,000 people testifying, you said.
Correct. Sorry.
So that's ignoring the will of the public. And let me ask you something, Corey. I know you've been involved in politics for a long, long time. Let me ask you this. How often do 6,000 people or even 1,000 people or more come and testify about a bill at a
very rare?
Very rare.
I would say the last place where I would say there's anything even comparable to that would have been Newtown. And when there were the three different committees that were set up to come up with new regulations for gun control.
Okay, yeah, and that was 12 years ago or whatever, right? 10 to 12
And
years ago.
when this was when the hearings, public hearings started,
Okay.
and I was there, you had that legislative office building. You know how big it is. It was, you had a line running outside. The lobby was packed, filled with people. And when you looked up, you saw people looking over every single, railing on every single floor, looking into the atrium. The place.
So that kind of response is very rare, right? It's very rare. And so if you're an elected official and you see that kind of response, you're in a democracy, in a free nation, you're supposed to respond to the will of the people. So what we have is open. You have a rogue government, you must remove that government. The Declaration of Independence says, well, I'd like to do it verbatim, but I can't quite do it verbatim. I used to be able to. It's something about if the government goes rogue, it is the duty of the people to alter or abolish it. We don't want to abolish it yet. We do want to alter it though, and get it back to the will of the people. Alter it back to what it's supposed to be.
All right. Well, it's a peculiar situation because here we are in a state government that has clearly lost its way.
It's lost. It's, to me, to say it's lost its way implies that it somehow just isn't.
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, they make no progress.
Remember the four corners we talked about yesterday?
Sure. I would put the five laws of stupidity, the graph. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. The graph. You're putting the state government in the incompetent or in the helpless section. I'm going to put them in the sinister section.
I put it's the lower right. They're the bandits.
Yes, sir. They're the bandits. They're the bandits.
Yeah. No question.
And then I believe we're going to need the help. We, the competent, are going to need the help of the incompetent and the helpless a little bit to take care of it. Since there's only 5% of us, according to you.
Okay. Well,
I'm giving us 15, but still, that's not enough.
For what it's worth, I sent a note today to America First Legal, appealing for help because it's going to get ugly. And
the good thing is that as far as the voter roll thing, is that the Department of Justice will appeal this. So that case will continue.
Yes, but it's going to find its way into the if it's if it was in a federal court, it's on its way to the Supreme Court.
Correct.
And we'll just see how this goes. But the point is, shall we just say that the state of Connecticut has more to gain than lose by passing these? I mean, the other problem I'm having here? Sure, you're going to pass the voter records over, but which ones? From what year? Over, covering what period of time? Because they're constantly having to update them, and it's the information that we used in 2024 that would have been the most fraudulent of all in the state, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's true. He said it was over when they implemented the state income tax. That would be correct. It's criminals protecting criminals. Sir, you are preaching to the converted. Just let you know.
There's a ton of fraud going on in the state of Connecticut. Is absolutely true.
Right. But, it's our fault. We're to blame for not doing enough to create the institutions and organizations and the resources to lean on these people and get to the truth. Just,
that's right. Well, here's what's happening. There are a lot of people that feel the way we feel, and we're all I think many people in Connecticut are equally angry about this. But the problem is there are people standing up in groups of 1 and 2. They're not like you just said, they're not banding together into
yes and no. Yes and no.
The guy. I have a guy that's going to be on our show next Thursday. Yeah. Who crashed a Murphy event and stuck a Trump hat in front of an online camera. Real ballsy guy. I love this guy. Can't wait next Thursday to be on our show. And he took off. He ended up getting arrested. But that's what I'm saying. It's like a lone. Well, I don't want to say lone wolf because it makes it sound like it's a violent thing. It's not a lone actor, one person going in and trying to make a difference. And that guy's he's arrested. They could squash 1 or 2 or 3 people. So it needs to be.
Well, that he's been arrested is.
We're going to build our own institutions, like you just said.
Okay. So after the show is over, it's the other discussion. All right. So all of this. All right, so this is kind of it's the first salvo has been fired, and we're going to have to wait and see. But as far as the homeschooling part, you do have the Connecticut Homeschooling Network. Do you know about the Connecticut Homeschooling Network?
I know about it.
Right. And apparently it is a much more substantial organization than I thought, because when I went to check out their website, unbelievable. And they've got chapters in every county in the state. And the membership, these Facebook pages, which are a touchstone for each of the county, for the total organization, each of them has roughly at least 1,000 members, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so right there, you got several thousand. Some number of them would have testified. Then the others, in addition, who testified, right? And you can be sure that this group, Homeschooling Network, is reaching out to them, and their leadership, and they have leadership, is sitting there figuring out what their next move is going to be, because it's going to have to be a lawsuit. They're doing things that are unconstitutional. They're doing things that are without basis. And it's just going to have to
talk about something you mentioned to me the other day about because yes, it's true, lawsuits, but the common people want to get involved too in some way. And I think one of the reasons why they can't is because they don't know how. And what about, you mentioned to me something about common law grand juries?
Yes, that's
talk about those a little bit, would you?
With that could be used here, but you're running. I'll tell you a quick story briefly. I did probably just, I want to again keep up here with the good old DJ Ricky Smith. Also, maybe in the next live stream we can talk about those flock cameras. So I don't know what he means by flock cameras. Maybe you could explain. Okay. All right. So what was I going to talk about?
Common law.
Yes, the common law grand jury.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It interests me.
All right. So there was a period of time from about 2012 to 2014, I'm going to say. It started with a gentleman in Georgia whose name escapes me, but he was the leading light for reconstituting a common law grand jury. Now, technically, common law grand juries can be in every single jurisdiction in the nation. All right. But I made 2 attempts to establish a common law grand jury. And what you want to have is a, quote, standing group of somewhere between 15 and 23 people. Well, when was the last time you got 15 to 23 people together in one room to agree with each other on something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot harder than it seems.
If it's about taking a corrupt prosecutor or a corrupt government official out, I think you can get people to come together on something like that.
All right, but okay, and so far, I probably just know the wrong people,
or it's just a lack of awareness. Crowd. I mean, I've been involved in this my whole life, and I wasn't aware of the common law grand jury myself. So it was maybe a lack of awareness.
It's around. Mm-hmm. All right, let me just make a note here. All right.
Let me ask you this: you know what let's just say, for instance, we were to put together a group of 23 people that all recognize that Chris Murphy is corrupt and he's unduly got himself rich and he's committed crimes and misdemeanors and whatnot, and we decided to bring this 22 people. Let's say 22 people. Where would we go? To the courthouse, to the clerk?
Yes. So you'd pick. I mean, most likely it would have to be a superior court. And so you'd want to pick
Washington Street, 90 Washington Street, 90 Washington Street, Hartford, Connecticut.
Hold on. See, flock cameras are illegal surveillance cams that log data without a warrant. Yes. Oh God, how common is that? Dare I ask? It's just seems like everywhere we turn, there's just yet another problem that has to be solved. Yet another. The list is long. And it just seems to get worse. What am I going to say? Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway. Okay. So I'll
give you a big.
Now, mind you that prosecutors and judges get very jealous when a bunch of citizens decide to get together and form their own grand jury. Makes them a little angry. Mm-hmm. and then they try to assert their authority over these grand juries, authority they do not have, but they do it anyway. Okay.
So you need somebody like you. Then those any common law grand jury has to have at least one member or two that is like got that Donald Trump toughness to them that just like is not going to buy that, knows their rights.
You know, I would say quite strictly, yes, strictly.
Yeah.
You would have to have not just the grand jury, but you have to have a support mechanism around it. And yes, I'm going to say it. One of those support mechanisms is someone with a lot of money who believes firmly in what's being done. Okay, that's one. Yeah. And then the other course is at least one or two lawyers, okay, to help guide you in the process.
So yeah, because they'll trip you up any way they can legally. That's right.
Okay, so you got to, for this common law grand jury to work, those things, in my judgment, have to be in place. All right. So it becomes a whole organization, a whole project.
An institution, like you mentioned.
And it's yes. And and you're going to face a lot of pressure. Okay. As the word gets out, don't worry, the liberal media will trash this common law grand jury every which way.
But you know what? Could you then say that really one of the 23 only you don't really need an attorney? One of the 23.
Oh, yes, you do. What are you talking about?
Wait, let me finish. One of the 23 members could be an attorney, right?
Could be.
Okay, so you just need to. Then the criteria is one of the members of the group should be an attorney or two.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you need to hire a separate law firm outside of the thing.
Okay, but there's all right. So
nothing
part of it
is easy. There's a big picture statement for you.
Look,
nothing worthwhile is easy. So you know, doesn't mean it shouldn't be done.
All right, there are different parts of this. We'll just go back again to election fraud because this is where we would want to see a common law grand jury doing its thing.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
Well, in many places, but yeah.
Top of the list. Where did all those other voters come from? Okay, that's an issue. I wish I had the list in front of me. You know, Linda Sinkowitz came up with 15 things that she feels needs to be done. Some of them are things that could be brought forth as a legal case.
Joel Huff, who's another expert in the area. Joel Huff is his name.
Yeah.
He said there are 15 areas where election fraud can be committed, and Connecticut is now susceptible in 12 of those. Only 3 of the 15 have any proficiency to them. The rest of them are all open to fraud. 12 out of 15.
Okay. Well, in Joe Huff's case, I mean, he was bringing up a whole other thing as far as I'm concerned, which I find fascinating. And that is that anytime you're handling a large body of information, you need to be able to track that information. You have to validate that information as well as keep it organized. Now, if that information happens to be financial in nature, now you have to look at the kind of, quote, financial controls. Yes. You have to look at the kinds of financial controls that are needed to make sure that information can be trusted. All right. Well, that same concept of so there are the controls and then the tests that you run against the controls on the data that you're trying to make sure is correct. All right. All of that would have to be applied somehow to voter data. All right. And it's the kind of thing that would quickly sort out problems over why you have too many voters. But if I may, I think I brought this up before. I'll bring it up again. The state of Connecticut is one of several states that make sure that they don't have to be held accountable for their voter rolls. Instead, they point to an organization called ERIC, which I think is Electronic Records Integrity Commission.
Eric was on.
Yeah, no, it's a scam. That whole thing, it's a scam. But in any event,
government.
Okay, so Stephanie Thomas, our Secretary of State in Connecticut, just points to them and says, well, we trust what they tell us as far as the voter rolls are concerned. And if we're standing there saying, well, how come you got more voters and votes than voters? Blame them. Go talk to them. Unacceptable. That is unacceptable. All right. So that's just for openers. And, if one were to, I mean, there are, I don't know if I want to talk about the individual cases, but there would be You have to start asking questions. I'm going to say it about conspiracy charges for election fraud, because they are with basis.
Mm-hmm.
Remind you again about what happened in Stanford, which I think was we think, look, at Bridgeport is bad. But then when you find out these things that happened in Stanford, oh my God. Okay. John Malazzi, former head of the Democrat Town Committee in Stanford, was found guilty at least once. I'm not sure if it's twice, but at least once, for having forged the signatures on something like maybe a dozen or a couple dozen absentee ballots. Okay, any one of those should put you in jail for 5 years. Didn't happen to him, no. Okay, but so he's the one who got in trouble. There's a problem. He had a co-conspirator. Now, I think there have been some questions, so I'll just say that some people are not so sure about this, but some have made strong suggestions that the town clerk at the time for the city of Stanford, a woman named Donna Luglisi, might have been involved. Maybe, we're not sure. These are allegations. Gee, I'm not sure. She might have turned state evidence. She might have cooperated with legal authorities, maybe. And then there are unproven allegations that there were 2 assistant town clerks who kept their own separate list of low-frequency voters who could be used to send in false ballots. We don't know. These are allegations.
Right.
Okay. Just like we have allegations around Wanda and Bridgeport. Okay, it's stuff like this. Now, a common law grand jury would look at this information and they would have to do some digging. All right. How did this get started? Who suggested it? We want a diagram. We want a network. Okay. We want a graph that shows who you talk to in the run up to this. And while this was being assembled, who were you communicating with?
Mm-hmm.
And what if it turns out that there are people who are not in the state of Connecticut who are a part of this? Begins to take on a whole other look. And now maybe we do have to talk about the federal government getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But yes, so this to me would be one example of a project that a common law grand jury would have to tackle. The other one, of course, is the Democrat registrar in the town of Fairfield, who was caught. What was he doing? He was deleting. That's the word. He was deleting.
Sorry? Which is why I know Selena's big. A lot of us are big on, and we're the only nation that uses computers to do voting. Well, France did it for a while. Now they realized the fraud was rampant, so now they're using hand counted ballots like they used to, and this is incredible. I think this is even worse than what we're already talking about. The fact that when you put a thing into a computer, you can do anything with that thing with a few keystrokes, and it's pretty like what happened in Fairfield. So,
so now, I mean, this was egregious because here was this Democrat registrar in Fairfield, and in front of other people who saw him doing it. Okay, he wasn't even trying to hide it. He was deleting signatures for absentee ballots and then re-entering the information for that voter without the signature information. Okay, it's obvious what he was doing. All right. Should be in jail, but of course he's not. So
that's a perfect place for a common law grand jury. They're not. The prosecutors are corrupt in Connecticut too. They're not going to do anything to help the people.
Yes, well, so
that's one of the issues we have. Even if we get the attention of the people, a lot of our law enforcement, meaning the prosecutors and higher ups in the police department, are just not. A lot of them are corrupt too. We don't have one elected. In Connecticut, there's not one elected law enforcement official.
Interesting point. Yes. So, judges, there's been this long discussion over whether judges should be elected or appointed. And the argument was that if they're appointed, then they'll have judicial independence. They won't be subject to public pressure. Well, look at what that got us. So
now our judges, our entire judicial system, judges and law enforcement. None of it's accountable to the people at all.
My sympathies here to DJ Ricky Smith. You know, the best that can be said. So he says, how can Ganim be the mayor of Bridgeport? He's a felon. Yes, we know,
Yeah.
and we agree. And
Look,
the best I
the
can
mayor
do,
of Waterbury was a pedophile. So
you know, the best I can do for you is to say that you have a lot of people who are in the same party, and as some would say, you could say he's a felon, but the Democrats will tell you he's our felon, not a Republican felon. He's our felon. So we have no problem voting for him. It's a sad story. You know, others just low information. They don't pay attention. They don't care. If it's a D, we vote. That's it. Okay.
Well, I mentioned it earlier.
Republicans are guilty of the same thing, right? But just saying.
I mentioned it earlier. I mentioned it again. I understand a lot of elections, only 30% of the registered Republicans around the state, and as a statistic, actually come out and vote.
No, that's not true. Nope.
No, it's not. It's not much higher.
Nope. And I've looked at the records early. Okay, maybe the truth is different. All right. And again, we're complaining about somebody we don't trust, and now I'm going to start citing data from a source I don't trust. Okay, got it. So, according to the so-called official data issued by the Secretary of State's office concerning election results, they will tell you that typically, on average, 50%, 55% of Democrats come out and vote, and 50 to 55% of Republicans come out and vote.
I don't believe that.
Okay, good. You don't believe it, but those are the numbers.
Statistics. No, I think the numbers. We've done our own research, and we think the number's more like 30%, meaning that there's not enough Republicans coming out to register to bother to vote. And I'm talking about off your election.
50% that don't come out is bad enough.
It's bad enough.
Okay, the numbers you're throwing out.
The question is, how do we get? What is the number one motive? Let me ask you one question. What is the number one motivating factor to get one word answer to get more Republicans out to vote? And you're not going to like the answer.
Fear.
Thank you. You got it. I gave it to Selena earlier. She didn't have a guess. But fear is the answer.
Yeah. But
it's not the kind of fear the Democrats foment, which is false fears. An example telling somebody, woman that she's not going to have Social Security.
So you're saying that then the records overstate how many Republicans actually vote, which I guess would explain then the disparity between the number of voters and the number of votes. But again, this is a deep analytical project. All right, do not kid yourself about the amount of time and effort.
Well, here's the fear lie.
To do this.
The red and green alliance is real, and it threatens our freedom. So you got to come out and vote now to make sure that we get rid of that stuff, or we're going to have to fight a war later to get rid of it, and we don't want to do that. That's really the fear line right there. That's really big picture. Once again,
we see
vote this crap out of office now, or we're going to have to deal with it another way down the road.
The red and green alliance is something you're going to find in New York City, okay?
Right now.
But you're not going to find it in Podunk, Connecticut.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, no. So are you suggesting we don't worry about it because it's only in New York City and not in Connecticut? Just the hell with it?
We have plenty of other sources of fraud, okay?
We have New London County overrun by Muslims right now.
Yeah. Okay. So that's that. Well, you say New London County.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
It's that's something to be. We should all be afraid of Muslims coming here because you know what they'll tell you. Was it you that told me this?
What's that?
Oh, we may not get you, but we'll get your children. We'll get your grandchildren.
Huh? What?
They're patient, right? You told me this.
That what?
Sharia Muslim theologists that want to take down the rest of the world, they'll say to you, most of them, a lot will say in interviews, they'll tell you, if you interview a terrorist, they'll basically tell you that we are very patient people. The American people are not very patient people, but we are very patient people, and we will wait you out. Even if we don't get you, we will eventually get your children, your grandchildren. You will all be basically dead or under our rule someday, no matter how long it takes. And so that kind of crap, that's not something you negotiate with. That's something you remove. And it is a threat here in Connecticut. And by the way, the red part of that the red part of that red-green alliance is now controlling our state government. in Hartford. It controls our General Assembly on a 2-to-1 basis right now.
No, it's just the progressives. You don't have to worry about.
The word progressive is just a word that
Red,
communists
green,
made up
they're
to
different
cover their
things.
shit.
Red, okay, refers to communism.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And communists now control the Connecticut State.
Green refers to the environmentalists. Environmentalists and communists we don't normally think of as getting along, but they have found common ground to
See,
go after.
I think the green refers to Islamism.
They have a green flag, but the Red Green Alliance.
Well, that's the Red Green Alliance I'm talking about. The Communist
Okay.
Islamist Alliance, not the environmentalists.
According to the all-knowing internet, as of 2020, there are 44,000 people in Connecticut who are Muslims, making up 1.2% of the total population.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's small, right? But they can certainly make a lot of noise and be a pain in the ass and make themselves look bigger than they really are.
Okay, so we have 44,000 of the green, and we have the red controlling our government. So that's a pretty bad situation. And we better go out and vote now to fix it.
Okay, unfortunately, you're looking in the wrong place. It's the unions that are running the state. The unions, okay?
Well, I'm not. The unions are just one of the. No, I'm not looking in the wrong place. The unions are one of the major symptoms. They basically control the state. They control the
control it to what end?
Run by left wing again, but the red portion of this Red Green Alliance controls is the union. So they're just a manifestation of the corruption within our government. They're part of it. They're just another symptom of the disease.
All right, it gets complicated, right? Because we have all these other nonprofit organizations who are carrying out various, quote, corrupt practices.
Correct.
And that stuff doesn't have anything to do with what the unions are doing.
It's pretty deep rooted. That's why we need like a Donald Trump governor kind of thing. That's why Betsy McCoy is our girl. She's the best we got right now.
Well, again, I'd like to point out it doesn't help much for a Republican person to be having to ride a donkey.
Right. So that means we need to flip 27 seats in the General Assembly House to get control of the House back. That's a tall order, but that's what needs to happen.
Yes.
Betsy, right. I think we got, we're going to have Betsy on our show hopefully soon with Selena to talk about it. Because she's, you saw her her speech. I like her. But, you're right. It's not just her. We need help around. We need people to rise up and form and support her and get behind her. She apparently, my understanding is, one good thing that's happened recently in terms of voter fraud is that candidates were somehow in recent elections stripped of the ability to challenge the counts directly. And now that.
Oops, are you still there? You just froze.
I'm here.
Okay, you froze for a second there.
Okay. It establishes that a candidate who feels like their election results were fraudulent can now directly challenge the count. And they were getting usurped in doing that in recent elections, but the Supreme Court has reestablished that right. Well, so Betsy's got a team around here ready to challenge any kind of fraud.
This comes in different forms, okay? If the vote difference is 1% or less, that triggers an automatic recount, okay? So it doesn't matter. However, in other cases that are questionable, I'm going to go back to the 2010 governor's election. Was it between Malloy and Tim Foley? Okay, it was a narrow race, all right, and I think at the end, Malloy won by 10,000 votes by the late vote surge that he got out of Bridgeport. And Mr. Foley had every right to challenge this and demand an investigation.
Correct.
And was a weak, spineless Republican and did nothing.
Yeah.
He just let it go.
He's a Mitt Romney of Connecticut.
Anyway,
hey, with that, we're at the hour. Are you ready to wrap it up for tonight, or?
Yeah, pretty much, I guess. I just.
I know there's a lot to say. We'll be back tomorrow, though. I'm free tomorrow night if you are.
Yeah, I am. Anyway, I'll be emailing you about the other stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll be working from home all day, so I'll be able to read up on stuff if necessary. I know you've got homework assignments for me.
Don't worry, they're coming. They're coming. So the OED thing, and we've got to track the picture thing. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. All right. So I guess we'll call it right here, and I will be checking with you later.
All right then. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Good to talk to you. Great talk. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. All
And
right.
on Facebook. God bless Connecticut.
And